Finally on TODD for G66. Welcome to another Tuesday tone tip. On today's video, we're on the new Fractal VP4, and I want to show you some of my favorite delays in the delay block and how I use them. We're mostly going to stick to stock types, and we're going to do very minimal tweaking because I think it is really easy to get a great delay sound straight out of the gate with the VP4. To get started, I've got my Les Paul Custom plugged into the VP4, then I'm going into a clean amp. Let's just hear the stock digital mono type on here. We will hear the VP4 bypassed, and then I'm just going to kick in this delay block. I'm on the neck pickup at the moment. That just gives you a pristine recreation of whatever you play into it. Personally, I like my delays, especially when I'm running them in front of an amp, to be bandwidth limited and to have some modulation and some character. So I find the mono tape is a great place to start. We'll hear it at the stock settings into this clean amp, but I think this one really shines into a crunchy amp. I like the little bit of modulation on there. You can see there's a generous high cut already on there, which basically means the delay is going to stay out of the way of your main signal a little bit on there. A great trick is to use the mono tape with around 300 milliseconds of delay. You'll also notice that on the VP4 compared to the Axe-Fx FM9 or FM3 that the mix law for time-based effects is different. If I was running this mono tape in front of a dirty amp and I was using, say, the FM9, I need to run the mix a lot lower, whereas on the VP4, it's a little more like using a delay pedal where there's a much wider range of values that you can access in there. I find for this sort of thing, maybe the mix around 20%, and then you'll have this really lovely delay in front of your crunchy amp that has plenty of character, but it doesn't clash too hard with your guitar signal. And if you were wanting dual delays, you can actually use the mono tape for that by using the head 2 level. If I bring this up, I could set the delay to a tempo. Let's say we had a quarter note on here. If I've got this head 2 ratio at 75%, this actually means this other delay will be a dotted 8th note, and I can get dual rhythmic echoes. And if you're playing in stereo, you can pan head 1 all the way to the left and head 2 all to the right, and you have an amazing sounding dual echo. We will revisit that later in the video though. Let's go to channel B on this delay block because I've got the stereo mind guy loaded up. Again, a shorter delay on here. I'm just running it as essentially a mono delay at the moment, but we will hear it in a stereo setup where you can get the wonderful stereo image from the super lush modulation. I just love the way this sounds. It's a great recreation of the old Electro Harmonix Memory Man with beautiful modulation and Bucket Brigade character. From the basic page, you also have access to the modulation and the EQ. You can see that I've set this up with the mod at around 0.8 Hertz. You can adjust the depth, the modulation phase when you're playing in stereo, as well as the low and high cut frequency on there. Personally, for me, that's just an amazing sounding analog delay, and it really reminds me of the examples of the Memory Man that I've been lucky enough to play in the real world. There's several other, say, analog style delays in here. You have analog, mono, and stereo. You've got the BBD types in here, mono BBD and stereo BBD, which we'll revisit in just a little bit. But for me, the stereo mind guy really takes the cake. Let's rewire everything now and run this post gain in stereo. The delay type that I use for leads, probably more than any other, is actually the dual delay. You have full control over two independent delay lines on here with the ability to feed one into the other with the cross feedback parameters. But for me, I like this really straightforward setup of having a quarter note delay on the left channel, a dotted eighth note delay on the right channel, adjust the feedback so that they scale with one another. You can see I've got about 30% on the quarter note. I've got 45% on the dotted eighth note. I've panned them out hard left and hard right. I do have a little bit of modulation and some low and high cuts in here, but this for me just sounds amazing with a big dirty lead tone. Gorgeous. Another great way to get that stereo dual delay setup is to choose any of the stereotypes. Let's take, say, the stereo BBD. Set your main subdivision to a quarter note and then set the left-right time ratio to whatever other rhythmic value you want. For example, if I wanted a dotted eighth note, I would set this to 75%. If I wanted the delays to have a 2-to-1 ratio, I could set that to 50%. Let's just try 75% on here. Again, this just sounds absolutely epic. Or you could use the mono tape with the second head in there as well. Check this out. And again, I love the crust and the character you get from the mono tape. If you love big greasy lead delays though, you have to try the 2290 with modulation in stereo. A disclaimer, if you are going to be taking the 2290 and summing it to mono anywhere in your signal chain, you won't hear any delay because there is a phase reverse on one of the stereo output channels. I'm in stereo at the moment though, make sure you're listening in stereo. This one works great as a rhythmic delay for sort of faster tempos on here. Let's plug in, say, 140 BPM, lots of feedback and some modulation on there. I've set the mod rate to around 4 Hertz on there. This one sounds pretty epic in stereo, or you can go for a slightly longer time with a bit of ducking on there for a lead delay. Let's hear the rhythmic delay first. The ducking feature is so awesome, and it's pretty amazing to think that, say, 30 years ago, people would pay thousands of dollars for a single delay that had that feature, and we can duck any delay type we like in the VP4. And there's so many different types and variations and different characters you can get out of the delay. I will give you one more on this lead sound that I'll play you all out with. There are a bunch of great utility types in here, like a ping pong delay, a pan delay. You've got character types like the vintage digital, the worn tape in there, the stereo trem delay. But if you like old school rack delays, you should really try the Zephyr delay, because this adds some diffusion to your main delay in here. And we'll do the stereo trick over here. We'll go to a quarter note. We'll set the left-right time ratio to 75% on there. Let's add, say, 9 dB of ducking. I'll just bring the mix down a little bit on there. This one gives you this wonderful diffuse reverb style trail on there. If you've got any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Let me know which blocks you'd like me to cover on the VP4 next, and let me know what your favorite delay type is in any of the Fractal devices. Have a great week, and I will see you on the next Tuesday Tone Tip.